A lot of you don't realize it, but even though people are good at understanding what they're not supposed to touch or what they're on suspension from touching or can't do or can't go anywhere, they understand, but there's a reason why it still happens. It's because their genetic ability to restrain is less than 75%, and it's just not strong enough to be able to handle it. As you can see, what you see here in Spring Green, 75%, this is how much you need to be able to fit yourself into a tight or one-sided situation as medically needed. You could never fit into this if you had less than this much. That's just the way a lot of us people work. Sometimes in some adult family homes with basements where they've restricted a bathroom use where you can't use it nearly as much other than in emergency situations, well, unfortunately, the only way to actually fit yourself into that is to have a genetic restraining ability of at least 75%. And if the masters of the home don't care to believe that or listen to it, well, that's their mistake. Sometimes even when it comes to handling a child who needs to leave some pets alone because they just got spayed or neutered, we do have a few problems with that too, and then things get out of hand so easily. Parent or guardian tells them what to do, but it really doesn't do any good to keep repeating the situation. I mean, if the child doesn't have what they need to be able to fit themselves into the situation, well, that's just the way it is. It just wasn't given to them when they were born. And by re-explaining it, you're just getting them all upset. I mean, the person listening often feels hurt by the fact they're not at fault of their inability to do things, and that makes them look bad. The person loses defense from having to put up with somebody who refuses to take their words, and that's mean. The person often wants to talk in a threatening manner to break themselves out of the situation. There's a lot of that going on, especially in those coping skills programs when it comes to like being stuck to certain classrooms all the time. There is absolutely no way that a lot of those students would be able to fit themselves in, even if they tried. It's just too much work to be able to try to fit in and to try to be stuck with things, not seeing friends and all. And so therefore the situation repeats for a lot of them. But that does not affect their understanding. They just can't fit. Family and work relationships degrade and then turn to sick situations. And that's really bad, especially when the police get involved too much. A lot of times, you know, when somebody is yelled at or forced just because they can't fit themselves in a situation, they end up throwing objects and breaking things in defense of their hurt situation. How adult family home masters who just yell just because the resident doesn't follow a rule or is not able to follow one, that makes them look pretty bad. And then that leaves them only two choices: to either get the dent from their unwillingness to listen to what's wrong or get trouble. It's always been reported that there were a few residents who actually broke windows in defense or started throwing objects, and the masters end up having to call 911. And that causes police to get involved. That causes situations that are too tight for any words of being convinced. I mean, just try convincing someone in authority, saying that you really didn't have a chance. They're never gonna listen. They're just gonna make you pay. And then damage ends up in the thousands of dollars without insurance to cover it all. I can tell you, some kids, when they are told they have to leave pets alone, they get mad enough to actually throw rocks, and then things really get bad. And then the situation gets bad enough to a point where the child ends up facing criminal charges to parent abuse. Prosecuting her just wouldn't even care if they had or hadn't a chance in the situation. That's just the way it goes. Now, if we took the time to realize that whoever they're telling the deal does not have the genetics for it, informs the neurophysicist about it, things can turn around to where the person listening feels safe with the situation and will be more likely to fit themselves into it. The person will have plenty of defense to live on since more people are taking their words. People have no need to threaten and break themselves out of the situation. It becomes easier to obtain a relationship with family and a place of work. The person remains calm and isn't as tempted to break or throw objects in defense of their situation. Prosecuting attorneys and police don't need to get involved nearly as much where the situation is too tight anywhere as being advanced. There won't be nearly as much to repair and payment remains in cents. But there's something I want you to understand. Somebody who says they do not have the genetic restraining ability to fit them in has a right to be told, "Oh my, I didn't realize it was that serious." You will not, and I repeat, you will not repeat the direction on anyone. And just keep in mind, there's just no tolerating it. It's your own loss you're going to pay for if you think you have a right to disagree with someone who can't fit themselves in. And they actually have court orders to threaten you if you don't listen to them. That's it. This is the way it is. You want to be a mathematician like us at Mathematician Society Protection Association, MSPA, you have to be the one to be some help to the situation, and that's that.